Thank you to Dr. Rao Sahib for inviting me to chair this session. I'm very happy to know that the Water Policy Center is organizing this COVID-19 dialogue. I think it's very important that different academic scholars work closely on policy matters related to pandemic management, as it touches a lot of different sectors of society in very different ways, and we are only now gradually beginning to understand both the impacts and the kind of responses that are required in policy terms and in terms of action. And we have a great panel ahead of us, and without wasting too much time, I'm going to request each of the panel members to make their presentations. I have been requested that because this was a virtual webinar and each virtual room is been booked for other sessions as well, I have been requested to be very strict. And those who know that I'm a chair know that I'm strict. So please stick to your 15-minute time limit so that we can have some time at the end for some questions and answers also. So the questions are going to be posted on chat, so there won't be any verbal questions that participants or attendees can ask. So perhaps what I will do is, in the interest of time, once each of you make your presentation, at the end when we have about 10-15 minutes, I will choose some of these questions and request some of the panel members to answer them. I'll read them out because for the panel members it may be a bit difficult to simultaneously look at the chat and also make their presentations. So we have 5 eminent speakers from different parts of the world, especially from South Asia. Dr. Thakuria, Dr. Azalur Rahman, I think Dr. Vivek Mishra is absent, Dr. Meena Ignath, and then we have Grisildis Lingdo, Miss Lingdo, and then Mr. Samrat Ray. Right? So very interesting topics, and I look forward to learning more from each of you. So I also request each of the speakers, before your presentation, to very briefly, in about 30 seconds, introduce the kind of work that you do. Okay, so we're going to start with Professor R.K. Thakuria, who's Chief Scientist at the AICRP on Irrigation Water Management, Assam Agricultural University in Assam, India. Yeah, so you may begin, Professor Thakuria.
So, very good morning, sir, and good afternoon. At the same time, good afternoon and good evening also. So, I am R.K. Thakuria, presently working as a Chief Scientist, All India Coordinated Research Project on Water Management. So, I have been serving in this post since 2011, and doing mostly irrigation water management. It is specific to the crop management. So my present topic today, whatever I'm going to present, it is my all scheme works. Just before the COVID-19, it was started in India or Assam, but later on it suffered due to COVID, your environment, and that is, so it is a case study. Whatever today, since yesterday this seminar has been started, webinar, and I have gone through and I have looked that almost all it is the policy matter, it is the futuristic things. And this works, it is on the basis of your this present already done in the field, this case study. And it is a very good success story also during the time of COVID. And topic is, my presentation is case study of successful cultivation of autumn rice by diversion-based irrigation water during COVID-19 pandemic in Golaghat district of Assam. So this is the location. This is the location, is the northeastern part of our state. And it is the eastern side Again, eastern side, it is the district Golaghat, and it is the sign, and there is a village, and that village is Gormur village. I took this off at this village, and there is a reasons to do this research of this village. So that village, there is this bounded with the district, Hilly district, is a Karbi Alang district, and that Karbi Alang district, there is a water source. It is an irrigation water source. It's a spring water in Assam. So this water from the hilly part, and it is flowing through that area, that village Gormur. It is a greater area, subdivision of Bokakat subdivision, and it has flown, and it has again merged with the Brahmaputra river after around 20 kilometers away from its original place. So here it is near to Kaziranga. We know about this famous sanctuary in all. It is your Kaziranga, and that Kaziranga, it is around 15 kilometers from our side. So what happened during that time? What COVID started? This all the tourists, it was starting its tourist visit was stopped. Again, there is a important this orchid species in our Kaziranga in Assam, and there is a different your orchid parks, and in that parks, lots of your yacht they are engaged, yachts, boys and girls are engaged, and during that time they are jobless because there is no tourist. Hotel was banned, and your tourist park, this orchid park was again banned. So there is a scope that if our case study just information case study the success goes access these people, then we can expect that during that COVID endemic time that people will come and use this source of water, and they will able to go with the successful, they will able to go with the cultivation of autumn rice. So there are two key terminologies. It is the autumn rice and diversion-based irrigation. What is the autumn rice in Assam? It is in different parts of India. It is called house rice, and in autumn rice mostly in Assam it is grown, sown in March, and it is harvested in June, latter part of the June and early part of the July. And we know this Assam is a very fat-prone area. We are having around 5 lakh hectares of your fat-prone area. So during that time, what happened? Almost that area, this winter rice is grown, and that crop suffers from your flooding. And this autumn rice, if we select the right variety, short duration variety, then this flood damage, it's escape from the flood damage. So it is a main crop, and Assam is now self-sufficient in rice production, and it is because of this. It is because that this crop is free from your flood damage. There is no suffering the flood. So that autumn rice is a very important crop. But what happened? This autumn rice is restricted to an area is along the Brahmaputra river. There are some area where we grow the winter rice. It is a typical rice area, and we don't go for cultivation of this autumn rice in those areas. We just complete the cultivation process only growing by this winter rice only. That is July to November and December. So this area was taken after the harvest of the winter rice. That means autumn rice it is from March to June, and after that June, these crops now till it is a winter rice. So it is our attempt that's the intensification of crops or our increase the cropping intensity so that we can grow 6 crop per year. That means then 300 cropping intensity. Then this diversion-based irrigation, we know so Assam is both sides. It's this northern side is the Bhutan, and it is this all the Himalayan part, and your southern side is the Meghalaya, all the hilly terrain. So there is a water source that's coming from this your either Himalayan regions, regions, or this Nagaland or Meghalaya or this other parts. That's a Himalayan terrain is there. That hilly terrain is that there is a flow of water. And in Assam, we call it is a dong. It is a traditional practice because that water is diverted to agricultural practices, and with that, let's go for irrigation, and they get a good harvest of that out of that. So it is called diversion irrigation. That's we divert the irrigation, divert the dong water for the irrigation purposes. Sometimes it is used for domestic purpose also. And so here it is main objective is a sustainable management on your surface and groundwater. But what happened? This flow of this your diversion based irrigation water, it is not constant. Especially this water coming from the Nagaland or Meghalaya, this is a very not a high terrain, hilly terrain. So sometimes there is a flow of water is restricted. So we require sometimes your this solar or any shallow well type of your irrigation source. But here we utilize your this solar source. That means your green technology. What is diversion? Diversion means your this natural water they have keep for cultivation purpose. And at the same time, our objective is the more crop and income per crop of water, as our government Prime Minister is envisaging. That's we required. That's every drop of water we should use for this more productions and at the it's income also. So what were the technology intervention? Our intervention was irrigation. We are devoted to develop some technologies. That means your irrigation. That means irrigation surveillance means what exact time that we should apply the irrigation, what amount we should apply, and at the same time with what method. So we have to determine all those technologies for the crops. And another intervention was, as if it is a long duration varieties, that means their farmers will not be able to go for cultivation of winterage. That means we will lose another crops. So we selected one very short duration high yielding variety. Its name is Disang. Disang is the river of another river of Assam. So by that time we have kept this name Disang, and it is developed by our university, and it is a very short duration. And that means before flood, if there is a flood come also, that means before that you can harvest this crop with more production, 5.5 ton per 5.5 ton production per hectare. And this variety is a photoperiod insensitive. We need this photoperiod sensitive. Somebody, this many of these viewers cannot understand what is photoperiod sensitive and insensitive. This photoperiod insensitive means there is this enable us to grow the crops in different seasons at all the time of the year. That means we can grow these crops as winter rice, we can grow these crops as boro rice, we can grow these crops as Assam rice also. So it is a pre-flood, and at the same time post-flood also we can grow this. And crop intensification, that means we require that 300 cropping intensity or more than that in an area where rice is a dominant place and it is a soil is a typical rice soil. So this Juri, it is a lifeline of this Bokakhat area. It is a stream originating from Parbi Hill of Parbi along, and it is following to merging Dhansiri River. That Dhansiri River is a very big river, and that Dhansiri River is flowing after 5 kilometers in the Brahmaputra River. So it is a Lokshmi Juri. Lokshmi is your Lakshmi. Lakshmi is the it's a main goddess of your money. That means it's a Lakshmi. So that people has given this name as Lakshmi because that water is used for domestic and other crop cultivations. And Juri in Assamese, that stream or any stream, we call it a Juri. And but what happened? This contribution of stream water is only limited to Kharif rice. That means the rice, these crops which we grow during the rainfall. And that means in monsoon season. That means during that time we don't require much water. But if there is a drought-like situation, and then this water of this stream is used, and so that is the reason why this is people call this as Lakshmi. And the discharge in winter season is very low, 90 to 120 liters per hour. And your rainy season, when there is a rainfall in the upper stream, that it goes around 1 lakh liter per hour or more than that. And there is an NGO, this Pradhan NGO, they came to meet our office. They came to our office and asked us to do with that stream water, and we proposed that we'll do some demonstration there for efficient utilization of that stream water, and that our main motto is to transform the area from monocropping to double or triple cropping, leading to improvement in overall livelihood security. Sir, it is the location, your GPS location, and this is how they are tapping the water by putting the burn in the stream, and that water it is growing to. It was the earlier winterized crops that water has submerged that area, and they are putting the barn where they will be cultivating the crops. And this is the normal look of that stream. That means it is a very straight coming from this hilly terrain, and it is a to level is towards Brahmaputra. It's a water from those areas coming to the Brahmaputra, and that's a it is a photograph when there was no more water flowing in the stream. So that what was done there? We gave this, our office gave them that you first grow for cultivation of 2 hectares. 2 hectares it is a 20,000. 10,000 is a 1 hectare, and 20,000 square meter of area. It is a 2 hectares of land, and they were given the very high, that high-yielding variety, and with that first they go for nursery bed, because nursery bed, if our seed is very much vigorous, then we can expect a very good result of that out of that. If your seedling is not good, that means your nursery preparation is not good, then you will not get a very good quality of seedling. That means it will ultimately affect that we will not get a good harvest out of that. So it was preparation was direct. It was date of sowing. The date of sowing is your January. It is a sowing. It is a sprouted seedling. This is a nursery bed. This is the after seedling, and it is a very well grown your nursery bed. So then after nursery bed,
you have another 2 minutes. Please try to wind. You have finished 13 minutes. Please take another 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay. This is the main field preparation. So after nursery bed is this seedling raising is complete. They at the same time they go for the main field preparation. It is the main field. They put the fertilizer, all this. It is a participatory type of cultivation, sir. And all these people of their family, 10 farm family was there, and all they were devoted there in this preparation and all this activity. This is the ritual. When in Assam, go for a fast transplanting, then what happens? They don't go for with this ritual. They worship your God, and they go for transplanting. And this family, they were they collectively participating in all this your farm operation. So after that, it is after few days, it is a cross field. This is crop fields, and after that, that means at this stage there is your pandemic started. So with that pandemic, and in that pandemic also maintaining social distancing, they went for this cultivation. First they were demotivated, but later on when they were motivated that you go for social distancing, to maintain social distancing, do all this your protocol. Then with that protocol, this crop was successfully harvested. Then it is the stressing. It was a stressing. It's a power stress. This is the harvest. This is the produce, and it is all this produced by those people participating farmers. They were devoted in this drying, cleaning, all this operation. So at last, this is our production. The grain yield we obtained as per hectare it is 46 quintal. Then your irrigation we put 11 number of irrigation with 5 centimeter irrigation depth. Then number of your irrigation 8 by the stream 8, and a solar pump we did when there is a droplet situation, there is no water flow in the stream. So this is we use the solar pump, and total irrigation water is 150 millimeter per hectare. And irrigation water is a very good. It is 8.36 kg per hectare millimeter, and this net return they accrue is 23,000 around, and benefit cost ratio was 1.69. And what is the significant impact? It is an engagement opportunity. There's a main days, 120 main days, it was created. Then involvement of farm organized mode, then empowered with the increased skill in scientific irrigated rice cultivation and increased family level income, make them to self-reliant and better economic status, contributing to this familial peace and social your tranquility. Then what is the challenge? The challenge phase is a COVID-19. Then also face problem due to weather condition. Then there is in upper stream when there is a shortage of water, then there is a blockade. It's happening in the upper stream. So that water flow in the downstream it's a lower down, and that means it affects the cultivation. So the solar energy, solar power energy was their substitute. Then shortage of manpower with proper skill. Though there is agriculture person, farmers with mostly devoted to the agriculture system, but their scientific skill is very less. So it was as a challenge. Then lack of community infrastructure for keeping the harvesters right, because this crop is harvested in the rainfall season, but that requires here some specific load with your rainfall, there's rain protected your infrastructure. Just like it is a problem, but that problem was solved by them. There it is a solar power fencing. So rain protected fencing is a requirement again. So this is the future need that
you need to wind up. Your time is up. You've already over the time. So, Professor Takhuria, please wind up now.
That's just it's a last slide. Yeah. It is a last slide. Yeah. Okay. So getting some problems there, we have initiated to the government department that what those type of problems they are facing or we are facing would be solved with the involvement of the department. And this is our long-term project. And later on, we will go on this whatever problem they face to mitigate all those problems. So this is our publications in newspaper publication, and this is your acknowledgement. This is and our ICR Indian Institute of Financing, and your Assam Agriculture University and PROF that NGO they help us lots. And this is thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Takhuria.
Yes,
please stop unsharing your file. So that was a fascinating story about how through irrigation diversion management, they were able to continue autumn rice cultivation even during the COVID-19 pandemic in Golaghat district of Assam. We'll come back for some questions. There are already some questions in the chat. We'll take them at the end. I now request Dr. Afzalur Rahman from the University of Chittagong, Bangladesh, to make his presentation on the social and political impact of COVID-19 on Rohingya camps.
So, thank you very much, Honorable Chair of the Sessions, for giving me the floor in this very wonderful session. And also, my greetings to the Director of Water Policy Center of India for giving me a chance to present, a paper in this dialogue. Okay. So myself, Afzalur Rahman, currently working as a lecturer in University of Chittagong, Bangladesh, in Department of International Relations. I hope I am audible and my screen is visible to everyone. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, okay. Yes, please continue.
So, what I am going to present in my paper, mainly how the impact of COVID-19, how hit the socio-political, dimension in the Rohingya camps, mainly the 34 Rohingya, camps in two parts of the Cox's Bazar of Bangladesh. So with many dynamics. So I say that I also mention the background of Rohingya problems and also try to focus on the current. And finally, I also try to focus on how the COVID-19 also impact on the repatriation process of Rohingya issues between the Bangladesh and Myanmar because of this pandemic. So we know that according to the United Nations High Commissions for Refugees, at least 1.1 million stateless Rohingya refugees right now living in Bangladesh. They came to Bangladesh in 2017, in August 25, because of the persecutions did by the Myanmar government lead army. Okay. So they are the stateless and also one of the most persecuted minorities of the world. Commissioners, at least 6 Rohingyas died because of the COVID-19 and 78 confirmed cases found from the Rohingya camp. So there are a lot of projects right now from the international NGOs and domestic NGOs. They are create the isolation center and hospital and a lot of things in Rohingya camp, mainly in the 34 Rohingya camps. Out of the 34, there's two model camp built by the international organization, international organizations of migrations, IOM, and United Nations High Commissions for Refugees. So these are the study areas. You say the Cox's
Afzalur, actually we are not able to hear you. Your voice is breaking. Maybe it will be a good idea to switch off your video.
Yes, yes.
Able to hear you. Your voice is breaking. Maybe it will be a good idea to switch off your video.
Yes, yes.
Then we can hear you better. Afzalur, can you hear us? Please switch off your video.
Close to the border of and yes, I switched.
Yeah, can you hear us now? I think we've lost him.
Sir, actually, because of the rainy and monsoon season in Bangladesh. Okay, now okay, sir?
Yeah, now it's much better. Yeah, please continue. Yeah, we can continue without the video. Just share your file.
Okay, sir. Okay, it's happened the issue of vulnerabilities on the minority, particularly the Rohingyas refugees living in Bangladesh, and understand the different types of and triggers of COVID-19 related micro-level conflict in the Rohingya camps, and how they are involved with the different types of crime like drug, carrying the drug like Yava pills, and also involved in trafficking process like human trafficking from Bangladesh to crossing the Bay of Bengal and Andaman Sea to the Malaysia, Indonesia, and some of the Southeast Asian country, including far away from the Southeast Asia like Australia also, and mapping the actors and dynamics of conflict and who are the actors, and developing alternative strategies to solve the problem. And finally, and most important one, is how the COVID pandemic delay the idea of repatriation process. Repatriation process. The treaty signed between Bangladesh and Myanmar in 2017, November. 2017, after the outbreak of, after the influx of the huge huge Rohingyas to Bangladesh. Okay, the main methodology I followed there is an extensive review of the secondary literature. I also visited the Rohingya camp in last week, with maintaining social distancing and all of the hygienes and other stuffs. Okay, and I say that we need to care about who are the Rohingyas. Rohingyas are the minorities and persecuted minorities of the world. They are living in mainly in Arakan. Right now, it is known as the Rakhine state of Myanmar, and they have a bit similarity with Bengalis. Mainly the Chittagonian, and these are the pictures of geographical distributions of Sithe, and the Arakan state. The capital of Arakan state is Sithe. Historically, they have cultural connections with Bengalis, mainly the Bangladeshis, and also the British. So these are the major ethnic group in Myanmar. Myanmar have 135 ethnic groups, and they did not recognize Rohingya as one of the ethnic groups after the independence. Mainly after 1988 crackdowns and military took over the powers. So, and Myanmar also tried to establish an inclusive Burmese nationalism. They have not only problem with Rohingyas, but also they have some of the problem in Kachin and Shan and some of the areas where ethnic groups mainly challenges the government visibility and positions. And there's also the resilience and rebel group in some part of the Myanmar also. But I'm just focusing on the Arakan. So these are the Rohingyas living in all over the world, according to the United Nations High Commission for Refugees and IUM, and this report I collected from the Al Jazeera. So you see that Rohingyas are living in mainly in Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, in a small group of are living in India and Malaysia and Indonesia and Myanmar and some other country. So if I see the brief historical background, in that case, I have to say that over Arakan or there is an interactions between Arab and some of the group from Middle Eastern countries, and later they interact with the local Arakanis, and this is how they assimilated and also integrated with the local communities. It is in 1914 and 15th centuries, and that time that times local people call those are the Rohingyas who came from Arab and other part of the world. But it is 5 or 600 years ago. Okay, but after that there is no historical document found that there is clashes between Arakanese Rakhine ethnic groups and also the Rohingyas. But during the British period, British controlled the Burma for 1824 to 1948. In the meantime, from 1824 to 1937, British annexed the Burma with India, and Burma was the part of India, okay, British India, and until 1937. So as a territory annexed with the British India, there is also the movement of Indian, mainly from the Bengal province of Bengal to the some of the part of Myanmar, like Rangoon, presently Yangon, okay, and also Akiab and Site. So the movement of the people are also visible at that time for the agricultural and some of the seasonal purposes. And it was the place where the paddy and other stuffs, agricultural things are very popular. So this is the seasonal, but they didn't stay there permanently, but small number of them stay, but it's so too small. So I said the problem created during the Second World War when Japan Imperial Japan occupied the Burma, and they also planned to attack the British India. So that time, Arakan became the center of, as a conflict zone that time, and Japanese Imperial Army give arms and other stuffs to the Rakhine ethnic groups, who majority are Buddhist, and also British as in imperial.
Dr. Afzal Rahman, if I can interrupt, so there's not much time left, only about 5 minutes. So maybe you can skip the background and talk more directly about the impacts of COVID-19 on the Rohingya.
Okay,
you can come to the present and skip the history part right now.
Okay. Now, these are the main issues now in Rohingya camps. So I just finished with telling online that during the British, Second World War, Arakan became the conflict zone between Rakhine and also the Rakhine and the Rohingyas, because Rohingyas supported the British government, and also Rakhine supported by the Japanese imperialist army. So now move on to what are the impact that COVID hit on the Rohingya camp. Mainly the number of crimes like crime and drug smuggling rise in the Rohingya camp. And recently the law enforcement agency of Bangladesh seized huge number of yaba pill that came from the Myanmar. And that's a big problem for Bangladesh, that yaba coming from Myanmar to Bangladesh, and most of them are carried by the Rohingyas. Okay, as this is a very congested and overpopulated, it's really tough for the law enforcement agencies to vigilance all those things. Another important fact, because of the COVID-19, government in mid-March suspended all the humanitarian activities in the Rohingya camp until today. Half of the activities are suspended, and humanitarian work home, not in person in the okay findings. And secondly, also the internet connections and the mobile phone connections in the Rohingya area is very poor. So it is really tough to get all the informations to the refugees by the international communities, so then they can follow all the things like social distancing and hygiene and other stuffs. Okay, mentioned by the WTO, World Health Organization. Sorry. So thirdly, the Rohingya refugees, and another problem is uh, in this pandemic time, as there is no, I mean, not so much vigilance of the humanitarian working the Rohingya camp, that they're targeted by the human trafficking ring, and that is one of the notorious human trafficking ring of the world. And they use the Bay of Bengal and Andaman Sea, this very dangerous port, and half of them on the road they died because of starvations and some of the regions. Okay, this also rise, and these are the picture that I collected in from the guardians, so that how they're using this serious spot like Bay of Bengal and the Malaysia and later Malaysia and Indonesia, these areas. So and fourth, still there is a positive impact in the time of pandemic also in the Rohingya camp, how they are utilizing and NGOs and international communities, they're utilizing properly that land, and they have different types of approaches like camp management well, and they give trainings to the young generation so that they cannot involve with the radicalizations and other issues, okay, like smuggling and other issues. So what are the main challenges in the Rohingya camp? If I summarize my file and restrictions in the network of mobile phone, also the problem. And third one is also the impositions of emergencies, restrictions to the foreigners to go in the camp is also another problem. And fourth is rise of gender-based violence, mainly in the pandemic times, women and the children are the main targeted by the male counterpart, as male are not working in some of the areas in the camp areas, so they have to pass idle time in the houses, so they violated their females and children's, okay, and in different way. And rate of crime also I already shared with you about the high number of smuggling and trafficking, and number and final one, repatriation process prolonged because of the COVID-19, and there is a fear of they will later spread this disease to the respective area. One additional finding that I said, why the problem of repatriations also became prolonged is about the politics of China, particularly in Rakhine, and also in the India involved in investment, and if they positively contribute in this problem, then it will create a stable zone in Bangladesh also, and that equally important for all the stakeholders in South Asia and Southeast Asia for creating a stable regions for the business and other issues. Okay, thank you very much for giving me the chance. And if I said only within 30 seconds, my paper mainly just try to study what types of impact mainly the facing with the Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh because of the COVID-19 and their repatriation process. Thank you again, Water Policy Center.
Back to questions at the end. Thank you again. We'll now go on to Grazildis Lingdo, who's an MPhil student from the Jawaharlal Nehru University. Request you to please make your presentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you to the Honorable Chair for giving me the floor. I also I extend my gratitude to the Water Policy Center for giving me this opportunity to present my paper today. My name is Grazildis Lingdo. I am an MPhil student from the Center of European Studies, School of International Studies in JNU. I'm currently working on my thesis on Brexit. I analyze the British political parties and the role of social media and how they've employed social media in the Brexit referendum. My paper entitled today is COVID-19 and the Internet, a study on on truth and misinformation online. So misinformation on social media. The progress of the internet has made verifying information a necessity amid the multitude of fake news and the degree of misinformation on social media. More and more individuals are using digital media networks like Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp as their primary source of information in place of traditional media. India has a burgeoning number of internet and smartphone users, with the digital population amounting to approximately 688 million active users as of January 2020. Smartphone use has made India a breeding ground for misinformation. Misinformation about COVID-19 has increased as a consequence of the obscurity of the virus. Scientists are still continue to ascertain various aspects of the virus to explain how it originated and in Wuhan, how it spreads, as well as its nature and characteristics. So misinformation is defined as an honest mistake in the spread of inaccurate information. Disinformation is information that is false and deliberately created to harm a person, social group, organization, or country. The term fake news can be affixed to both, which is a phenomenon that has gained increased media attention due to its global implications. Disinformation can exacerbate contagion and impede actions undertaken by governmental authorities while continuing to generate fear, uncertainty, and distrust. Disinformation is polarizing public debate on topics related to COVID-19, amplifying hate speech, heightening the risk of conflict, violence, and human rights violations, and threatening long-term prospects for advancing democracy, human rights, and social cohesion. As social media has evolved into a source of information and social communication, it is considered an incubator for misinformation. Content can become viral within minutes when it is shared and reshared on various social media networks. Research has stipulated that 59% of links on Twitter are shared without being read. Social media users, through information sharing practices, maintain accountability for broadcasting inaccurate or false information on digital media networks. Deliberately or inadvertently, the distribution of misinformation by a user could be motivated by internal or external factors. The external factors involve audience subjectivity and preference that later a certain information biases. These internal factors can also merge with external factors like social media algorithms, which further determine the nature of information that a user sees in their social feed, thereby entrapping the user in a filter bubble. These filter bubbles are known as echo chambers. So fact-checking. Fact-checking networks, as well as social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Google, are taking action and more responsibility to identify fraudulent content on these websites. Innovative mechanisms and policies have been developed to equip users with access to quality information. Facebook assigned warning labels on 50 million content related to COVID-19 in April 2020. According to Facebook, people do not click on content that has been marked with warning labels 95% of times. Facebook has also removed 2.5 million pieces of organic content related to the sale of masks, hand sanitizers, and COVID-19 test kits. They adopted a computer vision technology that involved the use of algorithms to recognize images and videos to detect this content. In April 2020, Twitter's automated systems challenged over 3.4 million accounts targeting manipulative discussions around COVID-19. Twitter has also announced a similar policy to flag questionable content that may mislead or misinform users. So as the world confronts a global pandemic, it necessitates quality and responsible news broadcasting. This can serve to identify misinformation while also provide a reliable health advocacy and strengthen community solidarity. Misuse by political actors. Social media platforms have demonstrated to be an incubator for incendiary political misinformation. This trend has been observed around the world as individuals become increasingly wary of the false information that is misleading voters. It has also become imperative to evaluate the role of government and politicians who maintain an influence over their electorate. These actors must be held accountable to suppress the upsurge of misinformation on social media, particularly in their correspondence with their voters. Methods to tackle this paradox. The role of the government. The government has formulated strategies to curb the situation at hand, with initiations like the official chatbot on WhatsApp named MyGov Corona News Desk that responds to queries on COVID-19, aiming to restrict rumors during the pandemic. It also seeks to avert chaos by generating awareness and providing access to news verification. Similarly, an official Telegram group was also launched to address the same concerns. On the other hand, the Ayush Ministry had published reports regarding the prevention of coronavirus through homeopathy, which was listed to be false by multiple scientific sources. Now, such a situation indicates the predicament of fake news as it originates from an official source. This generates an atmosphere of distrust, and since reliable institutions and organizations are themselves entangled in a web of misinformation. Making social media networks more accountable. New initiatives have been adopted by social networks like WhatsApp and Facebook to evolve into more reliable platforms of engagement. Facebook announced ambitions to develop an artificial intelligence system to investigate and deactivate accounts disseminating fake news. Similarly, Facebook and Twitter have both launched pop-ups and an information page which guides users to resources of the WHO. WhatsApp has also launched a coronavirus information hub that intends to assist individuals in staying connected. While efforts taken by social media networks must be acknowledged, it is premature to assume that these methods could efficiently tackle misinformation. Self-verification. The only efficient way to limit the spread of misinformation is self-verification. Therefore, people who consume the information daily must educate themselves and acquire the skills to tackle it. Verifying the accuracy of the data can be achieved with an instant Google search or double-checking information on websites like Alt News, MetaFact, Boom, and Factly. Reverse image search is another method of fact-checking that involves running the sample image on a system which will then base its search on. Previous search has indicated that sharing information on social media without verification is determined by internet experience, information seeking abilities, and the belief in the reliability of the information. Another study has established that everyday users can lessen or mitigate the consequences of health misperceptions on social media. Therefore, consumers who perform a central role in the propagation of misinformation are themselves the most efficient and effective way in debunking fake news. Digital literacy programs. The government has taken steps to bridge the digital divide. These constitute the National Digital Literacy Mission and the Digital Sakshata Abhiyan schemes that were implemented with the target to train 50.50 lakh candidates in digital literacy across the country, including rural India. Similarly, in 2017, the Pradhan Mantri Gramin Digital Sakshata Abhiyan was adopted to usher in digital literacy in rural India, covering 6 crore rural households. So, in conclusion, digital literacy interventions could be the only resolve to regulate the surge of misinformation. Literacy programs could help mitigate the perceived efficiency of fake news content and enable individuals to differentiate factual mainstream news. Previous studies confirm that large-scale intervention can be efficient in reducing the perceived accuracy of false news stories, helping users more accurately gauge the credibility of news content they encounter on various topics. With a plethora of information available online, it has become difficult to identify truthful information, as social media platforms have been inefficient at filtering false information. Therefore, individuals must depend on themselves and their social networks in consuming and spreading news. As digital development allows anyone to be a content creator, professional journalists substantiate their profession with expertise, ethics, and accountability. India is among the top 10 countries facing cyber attacks. These incidents have increased manifold during the lockdown period. This has mandated strategic governmental interventions, and the government declared a new cybersecurity policy 2020 that aims to address the limitations of existing legislation concerning cybersecurity. Earlier this week, the United Nations called on all stakeholders to respond to the infodemic. Civil society leaders and influencers to collaborate with the UN system, with member states, and with each other to further strengthen their actions to disseminate